Hello everybody and welcome to the module Management of International Renewable Energy Projects. I'm your model coordinator. My name is Rui Pedroso and I'll be lecturing this module with Gunther Straub. This module, like the name says, deals with project management in the context of international development, especially in the context of the Global South. We will use theory of change to the different project cycle phases. The module is practical oriented with several essays that you will have to deliver, and the essays will be then supported by handouts and other tools for your analysis. The main essay is the formulation of a project proposal where students have the opportunity to apply the gained knowledge on the project management cycle and on the theory of change for elaborating a competitive proposal. Here you have the intended learning outcomes of this module. The main learning outcome being that after concluding this module, you should be in the position of integrating international teams working in international development and cooperation, and you will be able to produce and to work on the elaboration of complex project proposals. Regarding the methodology of this module, we will have recorded input lectures, we will have group work, we will have feedback sessions, and we will have 3 essays that you have to deliver for your evaluation. And I will explain these essays in more detail in the later slides. We have structured the module according to the standard project management cycle with 5 phases. The first one being the identification of the project, the second one being the analysis of the problems that you have encountered and deriving solutions based on theory of change, the third one being the design of the project, the operative part of the project, translating your theory of change, how you're going to achieve these solutions, into a log framework matrix that allows you to monitor and evaluate the execution of your project. After, you will design the project proposal. If you have a strong project proposal, this proposal is positively evaluated and could be funded for implementation. So you will need then to monitor the implementation of your project, the achievement of your results. After the project is concluded, that is the evaluation phase where you analyze the achieved results based on the objectives that you have proposed at the beginning of the project, and for that you normally use the log frame and the monitoring and evaluation plan. So these are basically the 5 standard phases of a project management cycle that we have used to structure our lecture. We will have only practical examples on the 3 phases of the project cycle management because we cannot implement and evaluate a project in the field. Nevertheless, you will have enough exercises and experiences that allows you to have a very good feeling on how things would go on in a real project design application. Now, regarding the formal structure of the course, the table of contents, we'll have a first section when you are shortly introduced to project management in the context of international sustainable development. You will also be introduced to typical agencies, international agencies working in these fields of sustainable development, cooperation, research, agencies like the UN Environment or the IUCN or the GIZ or CIRAD in France. All these agencies that work in these fields are important to be known, and you will be introduced to a couple of them. You will also be introduced to relevant donors in this field of development, donors like the European Commission or donors like the Belmont Forum or several others that you will have the opportunity to know in the course of the lecture. In section 2, we'll then start really to work on the 3 phases of the project cycle management I've shown you before, We will start with the identification phase, the first phase here, where you identify the region where you want to work, you identify your case study, and make an analysis of the problems that you have found and that you want to address. After you have done this, we'll move then to the analysis phase, where you then are introduced to theory of change and how you can use the theory of change to analyze these problems, to stratify these problems in a causality analysis, find out solutions, and then to prioritize the outcomes where your project wants to focus on, prioritize the interventions of your project. After this, we conclude by writing down a theory of change narrative, explaining how the interventions that you propose to implement in your project, how are these going to unfold into positive changes and achieve the objectives, the goals of the project that you are aiming at. In the project design phase, we'll basically transfer then your theory of change that you have elaborated in the phases, the prior phases, and we'll translate into a log frame matrix that allow us to make a monitoring and evaluation plan. This log frame matrix will include indicators, their baselines and targets. And after this, then I will show you how to compile all this information that you have elaborated, that you have worked on a project proposal. You will be introduced to a template for this project proposal where you can then structure your work. This will basically finish then my contribution to this module, and after this my colleague Gunther Straub will take over and will introduce you then to activities and activity schedule and the work packages of the project, meaning which activities are needed for you to then produce the outputs that you are proposing, to produce the intervention of your project. These activities need resources, so you will also be introduced to resource planning and financial planning for supporting these resources. The last two phases of the project cycle management are implementation and evaluation, and you will be here introduced then to the monitoring and evaluation plan concepts, and this will be done as well by my colleague Gunther Straub, and you can have more details on this from him. Regarding the evaluation, like I said before, we will have 3 essays. The first essay, and it has to do with the project introduction and contextualization and the stakeholder analysis. So you will produce a 1-page introduction to your project, to the region where you are working, to the case study that you have chosen, and to the main problems that you are addressing, and also to the stakeholders that are involved in that region, the stakeholders that are somehow positively or even negatively impacted by your project. Essay 2 has to do with the work breakdown structure of your activities for producing the outputs that your project is proposing. Essay 3, the project proposal, where you then compile all your work into a project proposal. You will have, like I said before, a specific template for elaborating this proposal. These details will be given to you in more comprehensive sections afterwards. So that's all from my part regarding the introduction to this module, everything in a nutshell, but we'll have the possibility of having online sessions where you can then pose your questions and we can explain all these issues in a more detailed form. So thank you very much and see you soon. Bye bye.